inside the blue zone. Ryan McLeod to the middle. Backhanded on, and Hofer makes the save, denying Dahlin, who tap danced down the slot. Done on the forecheck. In on Tucker. Whoops, Blues turn it over, and Hofer saves the bacon. Snap through the neutral zone. They get it over the line on the tape of Ryan McLeod. Center's tuck. Put it on. Right leg save. Hofer. Holloway couldn't get it in deep. In transition, Quinn for Buffalo to the front of the goal. They put it there. Save. Hofer. Terrific poke check save.
Well, Joel Hofer coming up massive tonight for the Blues. They needed their goaltender to be big, as the Blues, of course, were coming into this one with their tails between their legs, and Joel Hofer responded, and the Blues responded to Jim Montgomery. Welcome, everyone, into tonight's St. Louis Blues extended postgame show. It's the fourth period, and it's presented by First Community Credit Union. I'm Alex Ferrario, along with Jordan Deacon, here on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN. You could jump on over there. Also, check it out over on our text line, 314-399-9646. And, of course, you could tweet me at Ferrario101 ESPN. Basic statement here, they needed this one. You needed to see some type of response from the Blues, because we've had games where we've seen Jim Montgomery call out his players and say he needs more from them. And they didn't respond, or they would respond for a period and then it wouldn't be there. Tonight was 60 minutes. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that will talk about the lack of offense and the ability to shoot. My only thing I can say to that is Jim Montgomery is a quality over quantity type of person, same as Greg Berube was. He's not worried about the amount of shots on goal as long as they're working hard towards retrieving the puck and creating opportunities on net. And tonight felt like the Blues did it. So I think there's lots to do. We'll hear from Jim Montgomery in just a little bit. We'll also have our soundbite of the night, and we'll have our final look. And as always, we want your thoughts over on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. But first things first, let's hit our takeaways.
It's time for tonight's 3 takeaways, presented by Ted Drew's Frozen Custard, a St. Louis tradition for over 95 years. Unmatched quality, unforgettable taste.
So the first takeaway for me was Joel Hofer. We talked about this earlier today on BK and Ferrario, saying that, the Blues just don't have anything to fall back on. Tonight, much like Binnington was against the Edmonton Oilers, much like Binnington was against the Dallas Stars earlier this year, their goaltender was massive for them. Early in the first period, after the Blues had scored, the Buffalo Sabres tilted the ice, and Hofer stopped everything. 2 high-danger scoring chances. In the second period specifically, they had another one of those shifts where they couldn't get the puck out of their zone for a little over 2 minutes. And what happened? Joel Hofer stopped everything, even when the Blues started to get a little bit panicky in their own end. And then in the third period, when you knew Buffalo was going to push and the Blues were kind of playing that shutdown hockey, the shutdown hockey resulted in the Sabres possessing the puck 85% of the time, having 7 scoring chances, 2 high-danger chances, but Jordan Binnington stopped it all. Now you're starting to see Joel Hofer come out of it, because this has been 2 consecutive games where Joel Hofer has looked like himself. The Columbus Blue Jackets game, a weird game, but still came up with some massive saves for the Blues. The one that I still remember is that breakaway that Columbus had on the penalty kill, and Hofer stopped it to keep it a 0-0 hockey game. But now you've got 2 games back-to-back where Joel Hofer has looked excellent. And tonight, they really needed a Joel Hofer performance, and he came up big for the Blues. Second takeaway, because I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the lack of offense. One, you didn't have Kyrou in the game. And Kyrou is a big piece of shot creation and offense, and we've talked about it ad nauseum by now of they were sending a message to Jordan Kyrou. My expectation, he'll be back in the lineup Saturday against the Seattle Kraken. But, I mean, look, you had Texier playing the top line tonight. I think this was more about grit from the players and seeing their response. I think Joey said it. It's more about heart and passion in this game than it was going to be about, how many shots on goal they have. This team had back-to-back games where they had 35-plus shots on goal. We know they can get shots on net. We know they can generate offense. What we needed to see, as Blues fans, I'm saying what we wanted to see was, will you respond to Jim Montgomery saying there needs to be more passion, there needs to be more effort in the game? Were they going to win puck battles? Were they playing hard for the entirety of the hockey game? And were they cleaning up the mistakes in terms of the middle of the ice that they weren't doing in the early portion of this season? And, yeah, I think they did all of those tonight. You know, in terms of grade A scoring chances, Buffalo had 6 of them. Seems like a lot, but that's a lot better than the 12-13 that they gave up to the Washington Capitals last night. Blues only had 4 of those grade A scoring chances, but the Blues also only allowed 3 odd man rushes, which I say only allowed because, again, they've pushed to double digits a few times this season and had 5 odd man rushes of their own. So the offense is not a concern for the Blues because we've seen it. And it's some guys that, to me, are lacking confidence. This is how you instill confidence in those players, by getting a win like this, by getting a win that, you know, maybe on paper you'll look at afterwards and say, I don't know if they deserved to win that one with only 17 shots on goal. Their goalie stood on their head. Buffalo had the puck a lot. Sure. But the Blues did win, and hopefully that can instill some confidence into the players. And then the third takeaway, and just something to keep an eye on, and we're going to hear from Jim Montgomery momentarily. They skipped over Robert Thomas in that second period. Now, I don't know if this was this could have been a maintenance thing to where, you know, something was up with his skate, something was up with one of his, I don't know, some type of his hockey equipment that they said, we just got to get this fine-tuned up. Or this could have been Jim Montgomery making another statement to his team in the middle of a hockey game by saying, your best center's not going to go out there because he's not putting the effort in that we need. We'll see if Jim Montgomery addressed it, but Jim Montgomery, to me, after he made the Kyrou move, and then, of course, once you saw those 3 shifts skipped over on Robert Thomas, he's trying to send a message to this team that there's no more of this gliding through games. There's no more of this not putting your 100% in from start to finish. And if you're not, well, you're going to find the end of the bench. And whatever that might be, if that was Thomas or if that was a equipment issue, the Blues still found a way to play even without him on the ice for a couple of shifts. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I'm assuming Jim Montgomery is just trying to continue to send messages to the players. And I agree with what Joe said earlier. You know, you respect Jim Montgomery for doing it. People don't like it, but you respect him for doing it because there's a difference with your coaches that just says, you know, well, I can always healthy scratch guys or I can take ice time away. But then when you don't do it, it's kind of what Joey was talking about in our pregame show to where, you know, when he was a part of the Penguins, it's like, you know, you would feed compliments even on bad games to the star players, and then everyone else is like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Jim Montgomery's not doing that. You know, Doug Armstrong said it at the beginning of the season, the pack eats while the how did he phrase this? I'm going to butcher this saying again. The pack eats while the alpha, I don't know, I'm going to skip over this one. Essentially what he's saying, because this is me trying to remember something, which is never a good thing. Essentially what he is saying as individuals don't matter on this team. It's going to have to be everybody. Everybody's on the same playing field. Nobody is bigger than the other person. There's nobody that's making $8 million versus $2 million. Everyone's on the same playing field, and that's what Jim Montgomery's tried to accomplish. He did it with Pavel Buchnevich against Vancouver by taking him off the power play unit. He did it tonight with Robert Thomas in that second period, if that's what it was, and he also did it with Jordan Kyrou up in the press box, telling the entire team that there needs to be a full effort out there on the ice. So those are my takeaways. As always, we want your takeaways. You can send them over on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. Also, you could send them over via text, 314-399-9646. But now let's hear from Jim Montgomery and get his thoughts.
It's time to hear from the head coach, Jim Montgomery, presented by Fisher Window and Door Store, offering quality American-made Marvin windows and doors. Visit their showrooms in Brentwood or East Alton, Illinois.
Better effort and drive tonight, more physicality all around. Do you feel like you saw that?
I thought majority of the game that the effort was significantly better than yesterday. I thought the physicality was good. I liked the way we dug in. I liked the way there was numerous block shots, and our goaltender was our best player, and that's what you need on the road.
about your goaltender being steady early. Did you build confidence from the net out there?
We did. He had a great save there, his first save of the game. Great glove save. And I think the bench got really up because of it, and I think we got energy from it, and he just was solid all night long.
Looked like the bench got up after Matthew Joseph's shorthanded goal there. They reacted. What did that do for you guys?
Again, gave us some momentum. Our PK forecheck has been really good all year, and that was an opportunity where we stalled it at the blue line, and Matty Joe's speed, and what a great play he made and move on the goal.
Are you concerned at all about how few shots you got late in the game?
Well, we're protecting a 2-0 lead. They're going to push, and they did push. But I was really happy with, the block shots, how we protected the middle. They didn't get that many shots, despite the fact that we didn't get that many at all. And I would have liked for us to have a little more possession time in the third period in the yellow zone, something for us to get better at.
You made several lineup changes tonight going into the game. What went into those?
There were several people who weren't happy with the effort last night, and didn't matter the role. There was a lot of guys that didn't play up to their role and responsibilities on the team. And with the players we ended up going with, we thought would give us the best opportunity to win tonight.
And did you feel like the building of your game is back on track now?
Can't say that yet. That's one game. We did it one game in Edmonton. We got to, do it again Saturday night.
And again, that's Jim Montgomery tonight out in Buffalo after the team's 3-0 win. And what he said there at the end is what I want to touch on the other side. We'll get to our final thoughts, and we'll have our soundbite of the night here on the fourth period. It's presented by First Community Credit Union on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN.
to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut Brewing Company on 101 ESPN.
Final time here tonight on our extended post-game coverage, the fourth period. Alex Ferrario, Jordan Deacon back with you as we're live up on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. Also on our text line, 314-399-9646. And you could also tweet me at Ferrario101 ESPN. Get to some of these on the text line from Mahomes' long body. Well, a win's a win. I know what you're saying there, but it just feels like right now you need to get any win you can for this team. You know, I was thinking back earlier today when we were doing the show, and obviously, you know, I was going through a rough day today because we had to do that Blues purge, and, well, that's not easy to listen to, but everybody was very fair and honest with it, which is what the whole point of the purge is. But, you know, I was thinking back to when the Blues fired Mike Yeo and brought in Craig Berube, and at the time that team was struggling, worst team in the National Hockey League, and, you know, Craig Berube said, the first thing we need to do is get the confidence back for these players. You know, he said it's a group of guys that has the ability to win. They've just lost the confidence in themselves. And the confidence has been shot for this team for a long time. It's really back to the beginning of the season. They'd have spurts of games, but then it would go away the next time around. I think the more important thing to find was confidence for your goaltenders. And, man, tonight Joel Hofer looked as confident as I've seen him since last season. Played the puck really confidently, didn't turn the puck over like we've seen some of the plays happen, was really good with his glove, stopping the high-danger chances, and a lot of the goalie being good was the team in front of him being good. You know, looking back on it, against the Washington Capitals, when they lost last night, they gave up 7 high-danger scoring chances, 14 total scoring chances, gave up 3 odd-man rushes, and had 11 D-zone. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Edmonton right now. What are you doing, Ferrario? All right, back over to the actual Washington Capitals game. They gave up 14 scoring chances, 6 high-danger chances, and had a total of 7 odd-man rushes. And then in the game today, you're talking about 4 high-danger scoring chances, gave up a total of 3 odd-man rushes, and they had 11 D-zone turnovers. That's the area that they're still going to have to clean up. They still turned the puck over, still struggled with getting the puck out of their zone. But overall, it's improved. But to me, improved isn't as important. And I'll explain what that means as we dive into our final look.
It's time to take a look back at tonight's game with the final look.
Driven by Pure Performance. Only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
What Jim Montgomery said at the end of his availability, that when they said, you know, do you feel like you're building your game back to where you want it to be? And he said, look, it's one game. They don't get the benefit of doubt anymore. You know, this was responding to Jim Montgomery being very harsh about his team. This was responding to the coach making his team skate for a morning skate, a full practice for morning skate when there was a second of back-to-back games. So this was the response. The response is important because it tells you that there's life on the team, but it doesn't mean everything's fixed. Because the problem for the Blues this year has been consistency. Go back to the Dallas Stars game. In my opinion, that was one of the best games I've seen the Blues play. Probably, I think Jim Montgomery said it was the best stick work that he had seen from the team since the year after they won the Cup. But overall, it's the best that we saw them play since that end of the season stretch when they tried to make, or when they made the playoffs. But they followed that up with a lifeless game against the LA Kings that they lost in overtime. And then they went into the 7-game down spiral. They started to build against Vancouver. Vancouver shootout loss was where I felt like, hey, this was a step in the right direction. Didn't look like what it looked like in the previous games. Then they did Columbus. Columbus felt like it was an improvement. Gave up, you still lost 3-1, but it felt like the high danger chances, the slot shots were just eliminated. And then they had the Edmonton game. And to me, the Edmonton game felt like it was the turning point because they put it all together. They won that hockey game. They had the confidence because you just eliminated McDavid and Draisaitl, but then you laid the egg against Washington. So yes, Aaron over on the YouTube chat, it's only one game. It's only one game. Now, it's also only one game, and you pulled yourself back to within 3 of 500. And we talked about this. Now you got, 10 games remaining before the Thanksgiving break? Or the Thanksgiving holiday, I should say. It's not really a break. They play before, and then they play a doubleheader after Thanksgiving. But it gives you time to pull yourself back up, but you're going to have to do it individually. There's no more of this tinkering with the lines or pulling people in and out of the lineup. Now the players have to respond. If Jordan Kyrou goes back in on Saturday, you need to see a response. You saw the response tonight from Matthew Joseph. And for anybody that's wondering what's it going to look like, it should look like what Matthew Joseph looked like when Kyrou and Sundqvist get back into the lineup. Because Matthew Joseph put on a clinic tonight. Great defensively. Stick work was positive. Very physical. Jumped around a couple of different lines because Jim Montgomery thought he was flying. Oh, and by the way, had a 3-point night. He was involved in the offense. And Jim Montgomery has said this. When you're great defensively in your own end, the scoring chances open up for you. So you'd expect Kyrou to come back with that. Now, look, nobody's expecting Kyrou to come back into the game and just start hitting everybody. It's not about physicality. You expect Kyrou to come back and be just as aggressive in his own end that he is in the offensive zone. And there can't be gliding. There's going to have to be the full effort and full push to getting back in plays and breaking plays up. We'll see what it looks like, but that's what the Blues are going to have to really be focused in on over these next couple of games. But you're all right. It's one game. It's hard to just get excited for one game when the Blues have laid eggs pretty inconsistently so far this season. But right now, it's something to build off of. Again, I understand 17 shots on goal isn't anything to write home about, but they've shown the ability to be good offensively this season. There's guys that are just going through it right now. Buchnevich going through it. I mean, Pavel Buchnevich finished this game with a total of 2 shots on goal, 3 attempts. You could see the frustration building for him. We mentioned Robert Thomas being skipped over for a couple of shifts in the second period. He finished with 2 shots on goal, only played 15 minutes and 28 seconds. I mean, he played 15-28 when Matthew Joseph played 12-21. Jimmy Snuggerud tonight played 17 minutes. Braden Shen, 16-43. Pius Suter, 17-08. They were using other lines more than they were using Robert Thomas. Dylan Holloway, by the way, 17-18. 17-13 for Pavel Buchnevich. They need those players to take their game to the next level and be consistent with it. But offensively, you know it's there. Defensively and goaltending have been the biggest consistent problem all year for the Blues. Tonight, you improved. But does an improvement in one game become a consistent stretch of 3 to 5 games? Because that's what it feels like they need right now. Right now, it feels like you need about 5 games in a row playing solid defensively, big saves from your goalie, and your offense being consistently thorough from top to bottom on your lines. If you get that for 5 games, then you could start really investing in maybe the Blues have put the cold spells behind them. But for right now, it's at least something to pick your head up from compared to what it was for the Blues over these last 8 or 9 games that they have gone through their struggles with. So let's do this. Let's get our soundbite of the night tonight. Now I'm going to be real cheesy, real cliche, chick flick-esque. Let's play our choice for the soundbite of the night.
The soundbite of the night is presented by Rocket Convenience Stores. Fuel your car and your daily cravings at Rocket Convenience Stores.
From a disappointing one last night in D.C. to a fire in the belly, gut check battle tonight in Buffalo. It's a 3-0 win. You can bring out the Zamboni, and the Blues give the answer the coach was looking for.
How about that? You hear the boos in Buffalo. And, I saw somebody over on the YouTube chat say, guys, Buffalo's not very good. Now, their goaltender has not been good for them. Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen, and although he's got the greatest name in hockey, has not been very good. They didn't see their best goalie, which has been Alex Lyon so far this year. But no, to say Buffalo has been bad, Buffalo had lost one time in regulation over the last 10 games. I mean, Buffalo forced Utah into overtime last night. Now they lost, but still, I mean, Utah's a juggernaut in the early portion of the season, and Buffalo forced them there. They've got offense. They're very stacked defensively, but the Blues got a bad goalie, which, I mean, it's nice to get that for once, considering how they've had the other luck. But they also found a way to keep that offense that has Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck and Josh Doan, kept them pretty much to the outside. It didn't feel like the middle of the ice was as open as we saw against the Washington Capitals. A couple of other people chiming in on this one. Adam asking how I thought Justin Falk and Cam Fowler played. I liked their game. I think Justin Falk actually had a really good game, considering the game against Utah, or the game against Washington wasn't as good. And the ice time kind of backs that up. He played 24 minutes and 16 seconds, 25-11 for Colton Parayko, 24-08 for Cam Fowler, 26-59 for Philip Broberg. I mean, this tells you that they look at Philip Broberg as a top pair defenseman, the way that they utilize him. But look, I mean, Justin Falk tonight, 5 shot attempts, 3 on goal, had 2 blocked shots, was a +2 with 2 points. I like Justin Falk paired up with Cam Fowler, just like I like them paired up with Philip Broberg. I think the problem in some of these games, and I'm not blaming Logan Mailloux, and I think some people are going to take it that way. I think the problem is the Blues aren't able to put their top 4 together, because then they can't use their third pair, and they really want to try and divvy up this ice time so that they're not playing their third pair 9 minutes and their top pair 24, 25 minutes. That's just the stage they're in. Tonight, 9:16 for Tyler Tucker. You had 9:05 for Matt Kessel. You know, when I go back and look at the line combinations, Tucker and Mailloux played together against Vancouver. It was Broberg, Parayko, Fowler, Falk. And yes, they lost that game in a shootout, but had a decent game overall defensively. You go to the Columbus Blue Jackets game, it was Tucker and Kessel. Broberg, Falk, Fowler, Falk. You allowed 35 shots on goal and you lost 3-2. And then you go to Tucker Kessel against Edmonton. That was a very high ice time game for your top 4, and you eliminated the Edmonton Oilers in terms of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And then against Washington, you did the Tucker, Falk, and you did Mailloux and Cam Fowler. So I think what they need is they need their top 4 to be elite. And to be elite, I think Fowler, Falk, Parayko, and Broberg need to be together in some type of pair. And what that means for Mailloux and Tucker and Kessel, you take your lumps. You get 10 minutes a night, and you try and build off of it, because the better you play, the more ice time Jim Montgomery will put out there. And the bigger a lead the Blues get, if you play great in the first 2 periods, it gives them a little bit more leeway to play those players. But how do I think Falk and Fowler played? I thought they were great tonight. I thought defensively as a unit, the team was great tonight. But again, comes down to consistency. How do you carry this one over to the next game? And then another one that I saw before we wrap things up, asking about the line combinations for the next game, saying, do you go right back to Jordan Kyrou, or do you keep this lineup together after you won? I think you have to put Kyrou back in. Here's why. And we'll wrap up with this. You sent your message to the best player. You sent your message to the team. Team responded. Kyrou watched it. Kyrou saw that team play physical from start to finish. Kyrou saw that, yes, they played a little defensive hockey and you'd like more offensive zone time, but they put an emphasis on shutting down the middle of the ice and making sure that they're back checking, making sure you're physical on the boards. You put him back in because you want to hear and see his response. You know, Joey mentioned the conversation he had with him before the game, that Kyrou took responsibility, said, look, this one's on me. I need to be better. That's great. Those are words. Put him into action when you get on the ice. And if he doesn't, well, then you kind of have your answer there if you're the coaching staff. Because, again, you saw Matthew Joseph respond as soon as he got back into the lineup tonight. But I think you have to put him in the lineup because you want to see the response and you want to see how the team continues. And if there's issues, then you address them then. But what I would do, Joseph doesn't come out of my lineup. I think you put Kyrou back in and Texier comes out of the lineup. And for how well they played, I just don't think Sundqvist goes back in. I think you keep the lines as is. Kyrou goes in for Texier. You put Snuggerud and Thomas and Buchnevich together. You keep Holloway, Shen, and Suter together. And you put Kyrou with Dvorsky and Matthew Joseph. And then you have that line go out there and play as strong as the line that played tonight of Joseph and Dvorsky and Texier played. You got more offensive possibilities with that combination. And then your fourth line would be Toropchenko, Walker, and Bukestad. And then defensively, look, I said it on the Last Minute Blues podcast. I don't believe Mayu should be in the minor leagues, but I don't know if Mayu goes back in. I think Mayu just continues to come in and out of the lineup when it makes sense for the team. Right now, they're searching for confidence. They obviously are playing very confidently when Broberg and Parayko and Falk and Fowler are together, which means Tucker and Kessel get the responsibility and Mayu gets to watch for a little bit. But you build off of it. That's the most important thing for the Blues right now. And then the final one, which I think is pretty funny on our YouTube chat, and I believe it was Willie that chimed in on this one, and Willie was listening to BK and Ferrario earlier today. He said, Alex, I think you can listen to Take Me Higher by Creed on the way home. I absolutely will be doing that because I won't be listening to I'm 6 feet from the edge. I'm not doing that tonight. We're going positive tonight on the way home. Appreciate everybody tuning into our post-game festivities. Huge shout out to Jordan Deacon, who did an outstanding job tonight. Once again, Blues take down the Buffalo Sabres 3-0, pick up their 5th win of the year, and they'll see if they can string some wins together and some consistency together when they open up their homestand on Saturday, taking on the Seattle Kraken. That game at 6 with pregame starting at 5. Hope everyone has a great rest of their night. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. for BK and Ferrario. Saturday at 5, Blues and Kraken, and you'll hear it right here on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and